right, let's get to the next story here. There is a rift between Ilhan Omar and Ritchie Torres over this issue, over Israel and Palestine. Now, Ilhan Omar, I will say, out of all the members of the squad, she tends to be the one that is the most vocal, right? So she gets attacked more so than some of the others when she comes out strongly about a certain position. So if you can imagine, when it comes to this issue, her position is going to be a lot different from someone like Ritchie Torres, which I remember New York Magazine one time said that Ritchie Torres was the perfect progressive, or the definition of a progressive. And they went in this article to say because he grew up poor from a single mother, he's a person of color, and they said because he's LGBTQ, they gave all these identity factors about Ritchie Torres and said that's what pretty much makes him the definition of a progressive. He has checks all the boxes of what they said in the article. But Ritchie Torres, like I've said before, is a fraud. He's another one of those Congress members that claimed to be a progressive, that ran this progressive campaign. But the moment he had the opportunity to take donors, corporate donors, and to take PAC money, Ritchie Torres decided to take it. So keep that in mind. First, I want to start with Ilhan Omar's statement, where she pretty much called out Ritchie Torres. So let's start with this clip here. And it's Ayanna Pressley was the one who's actually speaking, but Ilhan Omar is in the back, and you'll see what she has to say. So this is in reference to Israel and Palestine. Listen to this.
How many more killings is enough for you? Is it 1,000 more? 2,000 more? 3,000 more? How many more Palestinians would make you happy if they died? Will you be fine if all of the people of Gaza were gone? Would that make you happy? Would that be the thing that makes you proud? And maybe that's the question you should ask Ritchie. Is he okay? How many more Palestinian lives is he comfortable with? Because I'm not comfortable with any more.
All right, let's pause here for a second. And I just want to pull up here so you can see. So Ryan Grimm shared this, and he said Ilhan Omar asked about her colleague Ritchie Torres, one of the most outspoken unconditional supporters of Israel's war, responds, how many more killings is enough for you? So again, like I said, Ayanna Pressley was the one who was speaking here. She was giving a speech in reference to Israel and Palestine. And it seems like Ilhan Omar is the one who answered that question. So let's just play this one more time.
How many more killings is enough for you? Is it 1,000 more? 2,000 more? 3,000 more? How many more Palestinians would make you happy if they died? Will you be fine if all of the people of Gaza were gone? Would that make you happy? Would that be the thing that makes you proud? And maybe that's the question you should ask Ritchie. Is he okay? How many more Palestinian lives is he comfortable with? Because I'm not comfortable with any more.
Okay, now that question is important, and I want to tell you why, because Ritchie Torres actually had an interview recently, and of course he is confronted about that particular question that Ilhan Omar has. Before we get to that interview, if you haven't had a chance to do so, go ahead and smash that like button. Thank you so much. That helps me with the algo. And I'll go ahead and address this. Seabrass, I see Sabs still hasn't commented on the Cornel West critique. I love Sabby, but she is being hella hypocritical. Are you blind? I've covered Cornel West for the past couple of weeks, and I actually did a video recently responding about the Cornel West funding critique. Next time, do better. Next time, go look before you make claims. And I say that to anybody because I see this happening a lot where people will just jump in on a live stream and say, I see you haven't done it, and they do no research, didn't watch anything, just coming up with shit. So I'll be very clear, and I was very vocal this weekend, and I'll be very clear right now. Very clear right now. Yes, I have talked about those things. I've talked about pros and cons. You need to stop being lazy and go do some goddamn research. Get out of here. Moving on. So we're going to go to this video of Ritchie Torres where he is confronted on CNN about the statement that Ilhan Omar has made.
Congressman, your colleague, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she is also, like you, a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. She called you out on Friday. Listen to what she said.
How many more killings is enough for you? Is it 1,000 more? 2,000 more? 3,000 more? How many more Palestinians would make you happy if they died? Will you be fine if all of the people of Gaza were gone? Would that make you happy? Would that be the thing that makes you proud? And maybe that's the question you should ask Ritchie. Is he okay? How many more Palestinian lives is he comfortable with?
What's your response?
I obviously resent those comments. Every casualty is a tragedy. Every war is a humanitarian crisis. But we have to keep in mind the causes of the war. Israel did not start the war.
Let me pause there, because I'm going to tell you how Israel, I guess I should call him, how Ritchie is full of it. This isn't just about October 7th. Ritchie Torres had made statements against the Palestinian people for years. This is not new. This didn't start just with this war. So people have seen a pattern with Ritchie Torres where he'll call out any other country, any other group of people, but he unequivocally will stand by the state of Israel because that is who is funding Ritchie. That's why. That's who's funding you, Ritchie. That's why you have the views that you have. This guy is the sellout of the sellouts. He is a clown. He's one of those people that ran for office and said he was going to fight for these progressive issues. And the moment the money was thrown his way, he sold out like a cheap suit. That's who Ritchie is. Ritchie has not come out to say before this interview, when he was pressed to do so, Ritchie has not come out in favor of the Palestinian people, the innocent Palestinians that have been killed. Never has. Never has. The only reason he's saying something now is because one of his own colleagues from the Democratic Party is calling him out about it. So this is the divide I was telling you about that you're starting to see within the Democratic Party, where some of the more, so they call themselves progressives, I call them regressives, where those members have a different stance on this issue than some of the other Democrats.
The war was imposed upon Israel by the barbaric terrorism of Hamas, which butchered 1,400 Israelis.
Pause. Notice how he uses the same vocabulary as mainstream media. Those two words, barbaric and terrorist. Those are the words that they're using to describe that group. Now, I can't play the video on here because I saw someone already got flagged for it, but they did show the video of the release of the two hostages. You can find this on Twitter. It's trending, where one of the hostages actually said that they treated them very well. I mean, it's just, this is not to say that Hamas is innocent. But Ritchie is being disingenuous because he is pretending like the Palestinian people have not been suffering and struggling under this state, this oppressive state for all these decades. He is supporting the oppressor instead of supporting the oppressed. And I don't know about you, but that to me says Uncle Tom sellout. And that's what Ritchie Torres is. Ritchie just following the money. And I'm going to show you because I pointed this out to him and I'm going to show you what he did. He's just following the money. He don't care about the Palestinian people. Ritchie's just trying to get paid and keep his seat.
Including babies. My colleague, Representative Omar, has voted against iron.
Let me pause here. Let me go back. Because the babies comment is very revealing.
1,500 Israelis, including babies.
Notice he says nothing there about the Palestinian babies. And by the way, people are still spreading that lie about the beheaded babies. CNN has already had to come out and correct that themselves. they had to come out and retract it. But you know what he's doing. This is what they do when they're trying to get sympathy from the American people. Let's talk about the children. Let's talk about the babies, like that kind of thing. But this has already been debunked.
You know, my colleague, Representative Omar, you know, has voted against Iron Dome, which is a missile defense system that protects Israeli civilians from relentless rocket fire.
That's not all the Iron Dome is. You see, there's nothing that protects the Palestinian people. And if you consider yourself to be a progressive, you should have voted against the Iron Dome. You should have voted against the Iron Dome, Ritchie.
Were not for Iron Dome interceptions, there would be far more dead Israelis, far more, by orders of magnitude. And so
that is false. And the reason how we know that that's false, because again, what did I tell you? Who has the resources? Even when we talk about weapons, who has the more advanced weapons? Gaza or the state of Israel? Think about that, guys. Who has the technology? Gaza or Israel? What did Anya Parampo say? She said they had barely had 3G service in Gaza and the West Bank. Barely. Do you know who has all the technology, who has all the resources? So he's just sitting here lying. And of course, Dana's not going to push back. Dana's just another shill too. That's why she's sitting in that seat.
Be far more dead Israelis, far more, by orders of magnitude. And so the policy positions that she has taken would have led to even more dead Israelis and more dead Palestinians.
See, he's focused on, which again, I disagree with that. I think that's a blatant lie. But then also what I wanted to say is that he's not focused on, see, you can see it here because I said you sold out, period. I'm going to show you this closer up in more detail because
Congressman, your colleague.
You paused that there. So what he said is that a member of Congress falsely accused me of being happy about the death of Palestinians. It is the most vicious lie that no one can tell about a colleague. The same colleague voted against the Iron Dome, which protects Israeli Jews and Arabs from thousands of rockets. Listen to what he said. Here he says Arabs and Jews. Notice in the video, he says it protects Jewish people. De-escalates the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, saving both Israeli and Palestinian lives. Is that what he said in the video? No, he didn't. See, pay attention, folks. Given my colleague's opposition to the Iron Dome, one must ask how many Israeli Jews, Israeli Arabs, and Palestinians must die from endless rocket fire and escalated conflict before she summons the moral decency to support the Iron Dome. Without Iron Dome, the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust would have been deadlier. That is a bold-faced lie. Again, like I said before, who has the technology? Who has the advanced weapons? Now, there was actually a protest against Ritchie Torres today in New York. This is from Indie News Network. So shout out to Indie News Network. And the Bronx Greens actually were a part of this protest. So they told me that this was coming up. Listen to this.
Hey, how many deaths did you fund today? Ritchie Torres, what do you say? Ritchie Torres, what do you say? How many deaths did you fund today? How many deaths did you fund today? Ritchie Torres, what do you say? Ritchie Torres, what do you say? How many deaths did you fund today? How many deaths did you fund today? Netanyahu, asesino! 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 Netanyahu! Asesino! Netanyahu! Asesino! Netanyahu!
And you notice something? Let me push this back. Notice there are also Jewish people protesting against Ritchie Torres as well. You see that? This piece is important, right? So you see, these are also Hasidic Jews. So notice like they're protesting against him too. This cracked me up because this they made a wanted poster for Ritchie Slick Grifter Torres. And they made him wanted to answer for conspiring with war criminals to cover up 75 years of genocide against Palestinians, funding the murder of children and the bombing of hospitals, libeling, I can't see if that's a B or a C, libeling the good name of human rights defenders for donor money, consorting with Blackstone Group to highway rob New York City of housing for working class. Like, this guy is a straight up like schmuck, okay? Assisting the notorious NYPD gang to terrorize the good citizens of the Bronx, accepting bribes from Trump supporter and blackmailer of Argentina, Paul Sanger. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But these are all the things that Ritchie Torres has done, you guys. I told you guys he was a freaking fraud who just sold out for money.
Ritchie Torres, you can't hide. Ritchie Torres, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. We charge you with genocide. Okay.
Okay, and then there's the poster of him there, and they have a picture of him, and this says, AIPAC, why won't Ritchie listen to Jewish voices like Jewish Voices for Peace and Torah Jews? So that's important to see, but I'm going to show you why. Just a second. Because you see, Ritchie, he's on a blocking spree right now for the people who are coming after him about this particular issue. And he blocked Danny Haiphong, which was interesting. Says Ritchie Torres immediately blocked me after I challenged his fervent support for Israel's genocide of Palestinians. Politicians using their platform as representatives are violating our First Amendment rights by blocking diverging opinion at New York CLU, at Elon Musk. So apparently, I was not aware of this, but someone brought this to my attention today. Apparently, politicians are not supposed to, I guess, block people on social media. I mean, I don't really care. But this was brought to my attention today. I don't care if I get blocked by a politician, but apparently that's the case. But Ritchie blocked Danny because, and there it is right there, fatality. So because Danny called out Ritchie's funding, but not just Danny. Ritchie blocked me. I said, Ritchie Torres blocked me after I showed a screenshot of his donors. You decided to take that money, Ritchie. You decided to take money from Israeli PACs. Don't run away now. And here it is. There's the block. Fatality. And I had muted him too. But yeah, I got blocked by Ritchie Rich. So Ritchie doesn't want you to see his donor information, but we're going to show it to you here. So if you look at Ritchie Torres on Open Secrets, and we're going to go back to the most recent election that he had, which was the 2022 race. You want to look at his contributors. So let's just scroll down here, 2021 to 2022. And what I want to point out is this. Boop. Look at this. And I have this in order of, the most money, the highest from the least. Number one, American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, over $141,000. That was his biggest donor. This is why I say follow the money. His biggest donor. He's never going to stand up for the Palestinian people. He's never going to be on the side of the Palestinian people. He's never going to call the genocide. He's never going to call out the occupation. He's never going to call out the land grab. He's never going to call out the suppression. He's never going to call out the abuse that has been happening to the Palestinian people over decades because he's paid not to. There's more because it's not just that one. Look at that. $141,000. Now, there's another one I want you to pay attention to. Blackstone Group. Over $73,000 from Blackstone. Now, I want to point something out. There's an individual column and there's a PAC column. Let's be very clear. Just because you take money from Blackstone Group individuals and not a PAC, number one, that could mean two things. It could be that Blackstone Group doesn't have a PAC, but two, you still taking money from Blackstone. These people, they push back against, they take away housing from people in his own city, his own constituents, and he's taking money from them. You see, so that story about Ritchie from the Bronx and I had a single mother and I grew up poor, yada, yada, we heard that song. He's just Ritchie from the Bronx. Ritchie from the block used to have a little, but now he's got a lot because he's not poor no more. Think about how much they start making their first year. They're making over $160,000 their first year in Congress. Most of us will never make that kind of money. There's another one. And this one might go unnoticed. And that is Elliott Management. Elliott Management. Now let's go back to the video because this was pointed out in the video. I'm just going to scroll forward here. When we go to that wanted poster, accepting bribes from Trump supporter and blackmailer of Argentina, Paul Sanger. Paul Sanger owns Elliott Management. So Ritchie Torres isn't just taking money from obviously Israeli PACs, individuals, and groups like Elliott Management and American Israel Public Affairs Committee, but Ritchie Torres is also taking money from companies like Blackstone that actively work against working class people getting affordable housing in his own district. This guy's a sellout. This guy's a fraud. He is not progressive. And I would seriously like to see somebody run against him in 2024 and get his ass out. That's why you won't see him push back. So what I had revealed in that tweet where I was blocked was this. Doop, doop. So for those who missed it, here you go. And this is what I showed. And I commented on Richie's tweet when I said you sold out, period. This is what I showed. So people need to see this. Everybody, I'm telling you right now, if you go on Twitter and you reply to his account and you show his funding, he's going to block you. Now, Ritchie, you decided to take that money. If you have no problem with the money that you decide to take, you have no reason to block people. You have no reason to hide that. This is public information on open secrets. So you chose to take that money. You don't need to try to go hide it now because that was your decision. Add Hakeem Jeffries to that list too, because he also takes monies from. So these people are bought. And I really wish people would stop calling people like Ritchie Torres progressive. He is not progressive. Just because you grew up poor with a single mom in the Bronx does not make you progressive. Can we please stop that? Sold the fuck out. That's why Ritchie has the position that he has. Always follow the money. Let me go to some of the comments on YouTube. Thank you, Roger, for the super chat. Uncle Tom, more like Uncle Ruckus. It's from the Boondocks, guys. Boondocks. Shout out to Lee A. Royster Jr. for the super chat. Thank you so much. Super sticker, $50 super sticker. Thank you. Shout out to Jay. Ritchie takes donor money but blocks people from seeing it. To quote Sabby, make it make sense. It don't make no sense. You decide to take that money. Claim it proudly. Don't go run and hide. Thank you for the super chat, Dev Washington. Get this dope peach creator to 100K subs meow. I'm assuming that's a peach. Or is that a butt? What is that? That's a peach. But thank you for the super chat. I think that's what that means.